Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's live trading session, combined with a trade review session. So, a few things of note, I suppose, just to give a bit of an overview as we head towards the opening bell. 10 minutes or so, just under 10 minutes to go to the opening bell. Dow futures have picked up in the last couple of minutes, literally the last 5 minutes. I've closed one of my trades. I have one trade open which is slightly above the market. I'm not really I don't think there's any point in me adding to that position and increasing risk for the opening bell. So we'll take that as the trade that I have for the opening bell. So that was a buy at 34,665. I think it was one of the first trades that I did this morning. It's still open, and I've laboured against the market for much of the day, but been reasonably convinced about the direction. The timing, the entry points have not been as good as they should have been, but from a directional perspective, for the time being, from the indices, appear to have got it correct so far. We haven't seen this fear, this panic starting, the momentum starting to build on the downside. Obviously, we've come off the back of 5 or 6, forget quite how many successive record daily highs in the Dow. A sell-off yesterday. I don't think it was overly aggressive. But a sell-off into the close nonetheless, which saw Dow futures, I think the lowest print that I saw last night was about 34,800. Started to pick up a little bit overnight, but then again we've seen weakness emanate again from pretty much first thing this morning. But we stand about 150 pips lower, so we're not going to quite reach that level that I was looking for earlier in the day in terms of recouping all of the losses before the opening bell, but we have been significantly lower and buyers have materialized, and we've seen this on a number of occasions with the Dow over the last period, and opportunities or falls in the market are met with equally effectiveness, buyers entering the market and pushing the markets back to those higher levels. So as it stands, I'm long Dow, I'm long DAX, and I am short gold. The gold trade is moving against me. I did have a stop in there earlier at 1790. I picked it up to 1795. We've seen dollar strength, and I think we continue to see dollar strength going forward, trading 116.95 against the euro, 136.73 against sterling. Slight pickup in the euro since first thing this morning, but sterling is a bit weaker as well. So I think the move in gold hopefully is to the downside this afternoon. I'm positioned that way. Hasn't really been a significant movement since the American traders have started to hit their desks from about 1 o'clock this afternoon. We did rally up to about 1792. I've got the stop at 1795 now, and we'll continue to monitor that, but potentially might need to take a loss in one or both of those positions during the remainder of the afternoon. So the Dow's ticked off a little bit, come back down to 34,633. As I said, we've been as much as 130, 140 points lower. So that buying that we often see around this particular time, and when we've had a heavy day or a heavy movement to the downside, and I've mentioned this many times in the past, you tend to see an overreaction from the European markets, whether that's a really strong rally to the upside or a really heavy push lower, and then a correction as we start to come into the opening bell, and that's what we've seen today. That doesn't necessarily mean that this rally that we've seen over the last period is going to continue for a long period when the market's open, but as the equity orders are coming in and as the futures orders are being matched up, There has been a slight benefit to be long over the last period. Obviously, things that are affecting the market, I write about these every day. You get them in the market comment. They're not changing, neither will they change going forward. I think there are some meetings going on over the next few days between Biden, Johnson, a number of other premiers around the globe as well. But the issues are the same. It's the pandemic. How's the Delta variant going? You read some reports this morning about how the efficacy of some of these vaccine that we've all been administered is diminishing as we move forward. Some reports I've seen this morning have said 4 or 5 months. Economic data has been veering towards the weaker end, suggesting that there is a bit of a slowdown in the economic recovery. And of course we have this Afghanistan issue which occupied most of my thoughts in terms of the market comment this morning as well. I think as we approach 9/11, I've mentioned this again this morning, I think there will be an uncertainty which can push towards fear, which may come into the market as we approach that date. So my preference is to be on the sidelines, a little bit short. I just think the markets were slightly oversold this morning. You haven't seen me you haven't seen me buy once at all this week prior to my second trade of the morning, and I've continued to enter the market from the long side. As you'll know and as you'll understand from my market comments, it's not a preference for me. I much prefer to be short this market at record highs, or close to record highs now, because we are down probably a bit more than that, nearly 900 pips from the record level that we saw only a few days ago. So a preference to be short, but as we've all seen this morning, I've been reasonably long the market all day long. The one thing that I wanted to guard against this week, and especially wanted to guard against today, was being drawn in to some of the moves that we were seeing. Unfortunately, I did. I've overtraded from my own perspective. I think 10 trades for me is kind of the sweet spot. I don't really want to be doing too many more than that. So you'll see very few trades this afternoon, and a definite desire tomorrow to take a more measured, calm approach to the markets. But it's been working out this week. It's taken a bit of time, a bit of perseverance, and my stubborn bone has certainly been to the fore as well. Not something that I always recommend, but it's, as I said, it's worked for me during the course of this week, and as we'll look at the results in a few minutes, they're very good, and thankfully make a dent, if not completely recover some of the losses that I encountered last week. So I'll just pull up the Dow, just because this is where the trade is that's on, and the one that we're going to focus. So you can see my entry point slightly above the market. I did have a TP in there earlier at 34,690 or 695, I think it was. I've taken that out for the time being, just to see how we open, and just see how this market is reflecting the the buyers and sellers as we get closer to this 2:30 ringing of the bell. What I'm looking to see is a bit of a jump to the upside, and possibly an opportunity to flatten out this position. It's not a position I think I'm going to run too long this afternoon. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll just bring this onto a 1 minute chart, so the reactions are a bit more obvious to see. Just 30 seconds. Well, there you go. The opening bell. I thought my watch was a little bit off. So we're the market's opening reasonably on track where the futures were indicating prior to the open. We're jumping up a little bit here. we're up to 34,640. Hopefully we get close to the level of my entry point, and we're fairly close to it now. Probably touched off of it just once there. I think one of the things that's been worrying for me over, not necessarily worrying, because it's always good to get close to your TP levels, but I think one of the things that's been causing me a little bit of consternation over the last couple of weeks is that I've been getting close to my TP levels, but never or not triggering them far too much. So we're just above my entry point there. I think with the day that I've had so far, not going to run this too aggressively from here. We're back above my entry point from earlier. So I've just sold there. I used my phone to do that just because it was a little bit easier. But we're back up above 34,700. Just want to have a quick look to see what gold is doing before we look at the trades for the week. So let me just confirm what price I managed to sell there. I think it was just below 34,700. So gold's traded off a little bit, back down to 1786. So moving the stop to 1795 was worked, but obviously wasn't without risk. So I sold there at 34,692 in the Dow, which adds another 27 pips. I'm completely out of the Dow now. I still got a couple of long DAX positions on. One of those is is fairly close to break even now. I think that I will look to reduce that position reasonably quickly, and the Dow is continuing to run away. So for those of you who are in that trade and still in that trade, we're up about 85 pips on that trade at the moment. So hopefully a few of you are still in it. I think I've persevered enough today and fought the market enough, but we are going back towards now the closing level that we saw last night, trading 34,740, almost 750, and probably 50 pips off of the low that I saw yesterday. And gold thankfully has come down a little bit. So the things that I've been looking for are certainly occurring at this time. So the one thing, let's just have a look at the trade results for this week. So the one gold position that I've just closed was, just add this up. So we've got 4 trades left open, or I have 4 trades left open. It doesn't mean that you necessarily do. So with 4 trades left open, the pip return so far this week is 1,077. There's only been the one losing trade on Monday so far, potentially 4 more today. 1 pip of a loss from that particular trade. So it's been a really, really good week, and significantly passes out the loss that I experienced last week. There isn't a great deal to talk about the trades. I'm always looking for opportunities to highlight things that went wrong or weaknesses, and try to look at ways that you can work towards those going forward. I think the one trade for me is the one from this morning at 34,665. Several opportunities to take profit on that trade, re-enter the trade. I think if I go back over the course of the week and look at the number of trades that I've done, there are a number of trades that I could have taken profit on a little bit quicker and then got back into the trade. As you all know, I'm a big advocate. If a trade works, there's no harm doing it again. Yes, you will break through or break lower, break higher or break lower at some point, but if you've repeated the trade a number of times up until that particular point, for me that often or usually outweighs the potential for a negative outcome on those trades. I'll just bring the markets up again just so that so we're all the way back up there now, 34.7, and we are trading at the high. So 34.8 is going to, or has pretty much triggered already. So whilst I'm not a fortune teller, we have got back to that level of where we saw the markets trading towards the close yesterday. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to close out. Now it's a very small profit on the trade, but I'm just going to close out one of the DAX positions, the lower of the two DAX positions. Just take what's available. As I said, it's not quite at the TP level, but I'm happy to reduce my exposure. So there's only the three trades left open. Two gold trades that I'm short, one DAX trade that I'm long. I'll continue to monitor those during the course of the afternoon. I do have a dental appointment, as I've already mentioned. I've got to run off and get to that. So happy that I've reduced the positions. There is a stop in on one of the gold trades, and there is only now one index trade open, and I think that makes a lot of sense. We've traded up to that 34.8 level, which was the level that I was looking for in terms of moving back up, and we're now 50 points lower as well. So for those of you maybe who ran some sell orders into that level, there's a decent amount of profit now. As always, if you have questions, unfortunately I have to run now, but please send them through to sam@bullandbearcap.com or to me, nick@bullandbearcap.com, and I will do my best to answer them during the course of the next 24 hours. That's it really. Unfortunately I do need to run, so it was a good week, or has been a good week. Hopefully there'll be nothing going wrong tomorrow. The results are fantastic. Hopefully you've all had a good week and have had some decent returns as well, and I shall speak to you again either later today or early in the morning. Take care and thank you for joining us.